I'm at the point where I don't know what to say anymore. I don't know what to say anymore. Here I am. I'm looking at this play again. Look at this. This is disgusting. Here it is, play at the plate. Here it is again. You have Starling Marte there on second base. McNeil with a little blooper. Oh, I'm thinking that he's going to score. And then he's out. And then he's out. And now here we are with the Mets having now lost 9 of their last 10 games. On top of that, here in this 10, as we all know, you have the Yankees who have been playing like complete lately as well. They, too, have lost 6 of their last 7. Look, both teams have been playing horribly. Mets have lost 9 out of 10. Yankees have now lost 6 out of 7. Both of these teams continue to find ways to lose. Yankees were down 2-0 to the Astros. The Astros came all the way back, and they won that game. We'll talk more about that in a minute, but this is what this is going to be about, this video. I think it's time to start talking about it. I listen to talk radio a little bit here and there, and I get the sense that people are trying to be in denial. Right? People are kind of in denial. Not everyone, but some people are in denial. There's a good chance both of these two teams can miss the playoffs. And I'm dead serious about that. The way these two teams are playing right now, all the problems that have been bothering these teams, even with the additions they did make at the trade deadline, have they really changed that much? And the answer is, at the moment, not really. And let's take a look at the Mets. Let's start there with the Mets because their big problem, they have 2 big problems. One, the two biggest problems are this. One, they can't hit the baseball right now consistently enough. And 2, they aren't getting enough starting pitching. They aren't getting enough quality starting pitching. Here's a stat for you. Let me pull it up here. This was also on X. I found this on X as well. The New York Mets, 51 straight games without 2 different starting pitchers recording at least 1 start of 6+ innings. That is the longest single-season streak since 1901. Is that considered the Dead Ball era, 1901? I believe it is. 1901. Is there anybody around on YouTube somewhere who's around in 1901? 51 straight games without 2 different starting pitchers recording at least 1 start of 6 innings plus. And look, it holds true. It holds true. Look, let's just go through the stats here, guys. That's all right in front of you. Let's do the splits here, right? Let's just do the last 7 games, which haven't been that good at all. Obviously, the Mets being 1-9 in the last 10. It's not that much different now. Hey, look, David Peterson. 2 starts, he's given you 12 innings. He's the only one going 6 innings a start. Sean Manaea only gave the Mets 5 2/3 his last outing. Clay Holmes only gave the Mets 5 innings. Austin Warren, for whatever reason, I guess he came in relief, gave the Mets 4 innings. Frankie Montas, only 4 innings, was a disaster the other day against Cleveland. And then, of course, Kodai Senga, 4 innings in his last start. Before this one, and here against the Brewers, Senga gave the Mets only 4 1/3 innings. He walked 3, gave up the 3 runs, only 1 earned. There was an error there, of course. But yes, the Mets bolstered up their bullpen. They absolutely, as we all know, at the trade deadline, right? Bringing in Rogers, bringing in Soto, bringing in Helsley, and it hasn't made much of a difference because they can't have a complete game from a starting pitcher where they're able to go 6 or 7 innings. They can't make it easy on themselves so that they can have that progression of going to Helsley, and then Edwin Diaz in the 8th and 9th inning. They can't do it. They can't do it at all because their starters can't get out of the 4th or 5th inning. And then you have the hitting, which has just been horrible. Just been absolutely horrible. Just take a look. It's post All-Star break, right? Forget the last 7 to 10 days because that doesn't tell you the whole story. Post All-Star break for the Mets. Post All-Star break. Look at this. Francisco Lindor hitting 195. Remember, there was a point where he was 0 for 34. He had that huge 0 for 30 stretch or something like that. Okay, Brandon Nimmo has really been struggling for a while now, hitting 232 since the All-Star break. Juan Soto hitting 177. Pete Alonso hitting 179. Ronnie Mauricio hitting 222. Brett Beatty hitting 234. Jeff McNeil hitting 235. Tyrone Taylor before the deal for Cedric Mullins, 0.77. And how's Cedric Mullins done since coming to the Mets? How's this sound? 1 hit in 16 at-bats. 1 hit in 16 at-bats. You can't win if you don't hit. You can't do it. Now, I know what Met fans have been saying for several days here. Hey, fire the pitching coach. Fire Eric Chavez. Let me put it to you this way, guys. Look, I understand that's what fans like to do. Okay, they want to fire certain coaches and fire this and change that. Does firing the hitting coach really good? Is that really going to change anything here? Maybe maybe it ignites them for maybe 3 or 4 days. But when you consider the body of work with this offense, with this team so far this year, throughout the course of this year, is there anything that makes you think that it's going to change, even if, let's say, they let go of the hitting coach? Of course not. Of course not. And even if they do that, is this a championship caliber team right now? And the answer is no. When you don't have enough starting pitching, and you're rolling out guys like David Peterson and Sean Manaea, who's obviously coming off of injury, and Kodai Senga, who is now a year away from your past injury from last year, and none of these guys can give you 5 innings, and none of them can give you that to you, and you can't hit. I don't care how big your payroll is. I don't care how many stars you have. You can't win. You can't win in the postseason. And the whole point of the reason why the Mets went out there and made those deals, obviously, to bolster their bullpen was to help themselves when they get to the postseason. But now I have to sit there and wonder, is it going to happen? Is it going to happen at all? The Philadelphia Phillies, right now, let's see here. I believe they won this Friday evening. They did 9-1 over Texas. They are now 3.5 games ahead of the Mets in the NL East. And yes, I understand anything is possible. We still got, a whole month and a half to go in the season. I get it. 47 games left in the year. Anything is possible. But the Mets continue to bury themselves in this division. They continue to make it very tough on themselves in the wild card. And this is what I'm talking about. Right now, the Mets are the last wild card in the National League. The Cubs have passed them. The Padres have passed them. The Padres already swept the Mets a few weeks ago. And for whatever reason, as I mentioned in the trade deadline video, it seems like the Padres are in the Mets' heads. They just can never seem to beat them. And now you're looking at can Cincinnati catch the Mets? They're only 3.5 behind them. Does San Francisco, who the Mets won 4 out of 6 this year, do they get hot? Do they catch the Mets? Now, that's the question is, do any of these teams behind the Mets, do they get hot? Because so far, none of them have looked like they can do that. So maybe that's the one thing that helps the Mets here, is the fact that the rest of the National League, the Reds, the Giants, the Cardinals, the Marlins, these are the teams most likely in contention for that last wild card, they don't look like world beaters. But if the Mets keep beating themselves and keep running themselves out of innings and fail to get out of innings from the starting pitching standpoint, they're going to find one of these teams catching them for the last wild card, and they'll be out of the playoffs. And it's frustrating to look at right now, guys. They were getting no hit by the Cleveland Indians and Gavin Williams the other day until Juan Soto hit a solo home run. They threw a game away to Cleveland on, Tuesday, where they had Tyrone Taylor on first base, Francisco Lindor doubles, as we saw, and then Taylor ends up being held at third base. Mets tried to defend it, but you couldn't defend it. You had 1 out in that situation. He could have scored, I thought. And a lot of people thought he could have scored. So it's little things like that. Little things can add up to huge mistakes. And that's been the problem for the Mets. Big mistakes. Running themselves out of innings. How about the game against San Diego to start that road trip, or to start that series where the Mets were up 5-1. They got the grand slam from Mark Vientos and then imploded with the bullpen. That was just, a couple days before the trade deadline. So, look, it just isn't getting any better. And you look at that schedule, still got 2 games to the Brewers. The Brewers, who I'm sure would love nothing better than to help bury the Mets, considering that the Mets buried them in the playoffs last year. Then after that, you have Atlanta at home, a team the Mets have struggled to beat this year. Seattle, a team historically, when these two teams meet, and I know it's not often in interleague play, Seattle's done very well against the Mets. Then they play the Braves again, August 22nd through the 24th. And then they get the Phillies, the Marlins, the Tigers, who have been pretty good in the American League. And then, oh yeah, there's the Reds again, team that's been chasing them. Then at Philadelphia for 4 games. Texas, who has been playing better, trying to get themselves back into the AL race with the Yankees flatlining right now. San Diego, you got the Cubs in there. I mean, it's not an easy schedule the rest of the way. Can the Mets turn it around? Yes, they have the talent to do so. When you have 3 of the best players on paper, and certainly in their generations, Juan Soto, Pete Alonso, Francisco Lindor, you should be able to turn this around and get to the postseason. You have the talent to do it. But they're not hitting on all cylinders. Brandon Nimmo, another example, looks lost to the plate. Bring in Cedric Mullins. He looks uninterested right now. Guys are just kind of going through the motions. And it's sad to see. It's really sad to see what's happening with the Mets right now, because this was a team early in the year that looked like it could be a contender, especially after coming off of the NLCS trip last year. But right now, it's all coming into question. It can turn around. Anything can happen in 47 games. I could totally get that. Hey, look, I remember 2007 when the Mets were sitting there with a 7-game lead with 17 to play. We all know what happened, obviously, when they blew that lead. Anything is possible. I get it. But the way this team is playing right now, it's not looking too good. And now let's quickly go over to the Yankees, because they have really been struggling, guys. I mean, I believe I saw it. I think it was on John Boy on X, and he did his interview with Aaron Boone, and Boone said that it felt like that series against the Marlins, particularly the first game, where the Yankees blew a lead, ended up losing 13-12. They brought in their 3 new guys that they brought into via trade, and nobody could get the job done. And that kind of changed the course of that series and kind of flipped that entire road trip all on its head. Yankees watching Camilo Doval get hit hard, watching David Bednar get hit hard, Jake Bird get hit hard. And Jake Bird's now no longer with the Yankees. They sent him down to AAA. And now all you hear are Yankee fans saying, fire Boone. That's been the call for the last several weeks. It seems like it's the annual call by Yankee fans when things don't go right. But right now the Yankees are 7 back of Toronto. They're fading fast in the East. They're fading, and in the wild card right now, they're 4 back of Boston, and Boston's well ahead, is up 5-0. I see here on San Diego. So they're going to extend that lead on them. So what can I say? Yankees just can't seem to find, like the Mets, they just can't seem to get out of their own way. The pitching that they brought in, outside Bednar, who pitched, give him credit. He pitched great in Texas in the last game of that series, got the save. But they can't get anybody out, and Devin Williams has been an absolute mess. Last 7 days, Devin Williams' ERA is at 16.20. Blue games in Texas, blew the game against Houston tonight. And the Yankees, of course, you want to pin all your blame on Devin Williams. I understand that if you're a Yankee fan, but also, this is a Yankee team that's not hitting right now. It really isn't. Let's take a look. Last 7 days for the Yankees. As a team, they're hitting 206. At least the Mets are hitting 212 in the last 7 days. Yankees are hitting 206 as a team. Anthony Volpe, who a lot of Yankee fans got on over the errors, well, he's been the most productive player. He's hitting 318 in the last week. But Cody Bellinger hitting 136. Jazz Chisholm hitting 182. Trent Grisham and Jason Dominguez hitting 211. Ryan McMahon, who they brought in from Colorado, hitting 176. Austin Wells hitting 133. And, of course, Judge just got back off the IL. He is 1 for 6. I'll have to double check his box score from tonight and see what he did. But before coming in tonight was 1 for 6, and I believe, let me just double check the box score here. He was 1 for 4, so 2 out of 10. He's hitting 200 in the last 3 games since coming off the IL. Yankees only 5 hits against the Astros. 5 hits. They can't hit right now. Their bullpen has been failing them left and right. And, of course, do you trust that rotation if you're a Yankee fan right now? Do you trust that rotation where Max Fried's hit a bit of a wall lately, and obviously Carlos Rodon has been inconsistent at times? You obviously have no Garrett Cole for the year. Luis Hill didn't look great in his first start back from that long, long stretch of being out for almost the entire season. It just feels as if the walls are closing in, and the Yankees, too, like the Mets, find themselves in a precarious spot. What's funny is that the Yankees, if you asked me a couple months ago of the 2 leagues, which was the tougher league, I thought at the time it would be the National League, because that's what it'll shape up to be. But no, the American League has turned out to be the tougher league right now, with the way Boston's been playing, with the way Cleveland's been playing of late, with the way Texas and Seattle have been playing of late, and all of a sudden, all these teams, and Toronto obviously, all these teams are catching up to the Yankees. The Yankees right now, half game ahead of Cleveland for the last wild card spot. Texas, yes, I know the Yankees won on getaway day in Texas the other day, but they're still 1.5 games back. Heck, Kansas City's only 4 back. So any one of these teams can catch the Yankees right now. They're certainly within striking distance to do so. And Cleveland right now playing good baseball. They've won 8 of their last 10. So there is a chance that these 2 teams, the Mets and the Yankees, could miss the playoffs. If you had told me, or if you had told anybody in May, in June, that was possible in August, that we would be sitting here mid-August almost, that we would have a conversation about the Mets and Yankees possibly missing the playoffs, you would thought, nah, it's not possible. You're crazy. Not going to happen. But it could. It really, really could. And if it does, what will be the response? What will be the response? We'll have to find out at that point. I know what the fans may think, what the fans may want, but we'll have to wait and see when we get to that point. I don't want to start making predictions. I just don't want to do that. But both of these teams have put themselves in a very precarious spot. And we'll see where this goes from here. We'll see where this plays out by the end of the weekend, because these 2 series these 2 teams are playing are not going to be easy the rest of the way. Can the Mets and Yankees win the next 2 games, Saturday and Sunday? I don't know. Well, the way things are going, I would say probably not. Like and subscribe. We'll talk to you next time.